Good evening and welcome to Just the News. I'm Faye. Now, many of you wrote in asking for an update on the Pegasus software case. Well, that case came up in Supreme Court today. The Supreme Court has heard all of the arguments in the case and now will take a couple of days to write out its order, its interim order in the matter. That's called reserving the order. So the Supreme Court has reserved its order for the next 2 or 3 days in the case where it was asked to order an investigation into the allegations of unauthorized use of surveillance using the Pegasus software in India. The government, on the other hand, argued that it is not willing to put the information in the public domain. It said it's willing to answer questions from a committee of experts, but did not want to make the information public because of national security reasons. The Chief Justice of India remarked that the only thing the court wants to know at this point, given the face of the allegations, was there any interception using these methods other than those that were allowed under the law. In this connection, he also referred to a statement in Parliament given by former IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad about some WhatsApp users being affected by the alleged use of Pegasus. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who is the lawyer who argues for the Government of India, said, and I quote, "Making this a part of the public affidavit or public discourse will not be in national interest." He urged the court to allow the government to constitute a committee which will go into the allegations of the violations of privacy, and those who suspect their privacy has been compromised can give their devices for examination. So effectively, the government has said that it will not answer questions in Parliament, it will not answer questions in Supreme Court, it will answer questions before a committee that it has created itself, which means that the government will only answer questions that it asks itself. And we'll have to wait and see how the Supreme Court reacts to that argument. In the meantime, there was a massive upheaval in Gujarat over the weekend. Bhupendra Patel, who was a protege and a close aide of former Gujarat Chief Minister Anandi Patel, who's currently UP Governor, has been picked as the new Chief Minister of Gujarat. He took oath as the 17th Chief Minister of Gujarat just today. This comes after former Chief Minister Vijay Rupani resigned on the 11th of September. According to PTI, the Council of Ministers will take oath over the next few days after their names are finalized. Now, interestingly, Mr. Patel, who is the new Chief Minister, is a first-time MLA. He served before that as municipal councillor in Ahmedabad, and his name came as a complete surprise announcement. In fact, when the press reached his home to speak to his family members, they had no idea. They heard about it on the news. Home Minister Amit Shah and Prime Minister Modi congratulated Mr. Patel for taking oath as Chief Minister. Remember, this is the 4th Chief Minister that the BJP has switched out or changed in the last 6 months. The Tamil Nadu Assembly on Monday passed a bill for the permanent exemption of the Central Medical Examination, the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, NEET examination for students from the state of Tamil Nadu. The Tamil Nadu Admission to Undergraduate Medical Degree Courses Bill 2021 was passed with support of all parties except the BJP that staged a walkout. This comes after a 20-year-old NEET aspirant died by suicide hours before the examination. The police say, fearing the outcome of the test that he was about to take. Former Chief Minister E. Palaniswamy accused the ruling party of not fulfilling its election promise at that time of abolishing NEET, which is what the government of Tamil Nadu has done with this bill. There is an update on the case of the rape and murder of the woman in Sakinaka in Mumbai. Now, according to a report in the Hindustan Times, the police officers and the officers of the Special Task Force who are investigating the case have found that the victim and the accused in this case knew each other, and there was a monetary dispute between them that escalated into this crime. In a press briefing today, the Mumbai Police Commissioner Hemant Nagrale has said the Sakinaka police have added the sections of the SC/ST Atrocities Act to this case as well because the victim belonged to the scheduled caste. Nagrale said the primary cause of death were the injuries all over her body. Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray on Saturday instructed senior police officers to file a charge sheet in the next 1 month. Investigations into the case have also been transferred to the special investigating team that gave out the information today. The Maharashtra government, in the meanwhile, has announced compensation of 20 lakh rupees to the family of the victim. To give you context, a 32-year-old woman was raped and assaulted in Sakinaka in the back of a parked tempo. She died of her injuries while undergoing treatment in a hospital the next day. The police have arrested a 45-year-old pavement dweller in connection to the crime because the CCTV visuals showed him exiting that tempo. Following Ford India's announcements that it will suspend operations in India and close both of its factories, employees and dealers have decided to challenge that plan. According to the Indian Express, Vinikesh Gulati of the Federation of Automobile Dealers Association on Sunday said the government should immediately step in and force Ford India to continue services for a period that matters to the vehicles that have already been sold. Mr. Gulati said that Ford India had promised to adequately compensate dealers who will continue their services to vehicle owners, but he said that promise is not going to compensate for the huge investments made by dealers already. So ideally, they're asking the government to step in and ensure that the company continues their services for a deserving period, as they have already sold vehicles in India. Thousands of employees will be affected by this announcement as those two factories shut down. Karnataka yesterday announced that people from Kerala coming into the state will be kept under surveillance because of fears of the Nipah virus and of COVID. Surveillance has also been intensified in districts bordering Kerala. This comes after a 12-year-old died because of the Nipah virus about a week ago. The Nipah virus is a virus that moves initially from an animal to a person and then from person to person. The symptoms include fever, severe weakness, headache, respiratory disease, cough, vomiting, muscle pain, convulsion, and diarrhea. A quick look at our COVID numbers, looking a little better this week though. India reported 27,254 COVID cases in the last 24 hours and 219 deaths. Kerala's numbers have dropped to 15,000 from the 30,000 they were reporting last week. So 15,058 new COVID cases and 99 deaths. The World Health Organization has congratulated India on the speed at which we have achieved the last 100 million doses of vaccine. The WHO tweeted, India has reached 750 million doses from 650 million doses in just 13 days. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandaviya announced that India has delivered more than 75 crore COVID vaccine doses since the launch of the nationwide drive in January this year. According to the latest data, currently 12% of our population of the entire country is fully vaccinated. On to news now coming in from the world of business and economy. Retail inflation, which is inflation measured through a consumer price index. A consumer price index takes into consideration all of the various things that you and I have to buy on a regular basis in order to just keep our houses moving, like food and fuel and electricity, things like that. It's come down for the month of August, which is a welcome step. It's also now at 5.3%, and it was 5.59% in the previous month. So it has come down. And this is the second straight month in which our consumer price data has been lower than the RBI's margin. So the RBI has a comfort level of about 4 to 6%, which is where they would like this number to be. It's at 5.3, which is a great place to be. Now, the decline came from the food basket, which is the food prices. Vegetable prices have apparently come down sharply, come down by about 11.68% in the last 1 month. And that's made that change. Sugar has come down about 0.6%. Cereals and products have slipped 1.4%. So these three things combined have brought the index down. On the other hand, there is still some pain though. Oils and fats have come up by 33%. Remember, edible oils, which is your cooking oil, is really expensive right now. Eggs have gone up about 16%. Meat and fish have gone up 9%. Pulses and products are up 8%. Now, apart from that, fuel and light, this is the burner, really, is up 12.9%. It's almost 13% in just 1 month. Also rising, clothing and footwear up 6%, and housing is up about 4%. So really, the pain they're coming in edible oils and fuel and light, but easing off on the vegetable prices. So that's actually brought some relief to people. Here's an interesting thing. There's been an announcement from Jet Airways. Yes, Jet Airways has announced it will resume its domestic operations in the first quarter of next year. That's 2022. Its first flight will be a New Delhi-Mumbai flight. Its international flights will be operational from the second half of next year. Jet Airways was forced to ground all of its flights in April 2019 because of mounting losses, and thousands of jobs were affected. In the statement, the company has said that the process of reviving the grounded carrier is on track, and the existing air operator certificate is already under process for revalidation. News coming in right now from across the world. According to North Korea's state media, the country has now tested a new long-range cruise missile. This is the first missile test in 6 months and a new indication of the arms race between North and South Korea heating up in the Korean peninsula. According to state media, the test took place over the weekend and saw missiles travel up to 1,500 kilometers or 930 miles. The test is not a violation of any UN sanction, as a series of resolutions from the United Nations Security Council banned North Korea from developing and testing ballistic missiles, but not cruise missiles. A ballistic missile is powered by a rocket and follows an arc-like trajectory. A cruise missile is powered by a jet engine and flies at a lower height. This comes as the nuclear disarmament talks between North Korea and the US have remained stalled. According to the Associated Press, Israeli aircraft struck a series of targets at the Gaza Strip early on Monday morning in response to rocket launches out of the Hamas-ruled territory. There are no reports of casualties on either side right now. This is the third consecutive night of fighting between the two sides. Tensions have risen after last week's escape from an Israeli prison by 6 Palestinian inmates, as well as struggling efforts by Egypt to broker long-term ceasefire in the wake of the 11-day war last May. The Taliban government's new higher education minister has made an announcement that women in Afghanistan can continue to study in universities, including at the postgraduate level. There is a catch though. Classrooms will be gender-segregated. Women in colleges will be required to wear full burqas and they'll be separated from their male counterparts in their classrooms by a curtain. The Taliban has asserted that they had changed compared to their previous sort of avatar in their previous rule, but the world now begs to differ as people are watching very closely as the plight of women and children in Taliban-ruled Afghanistan continues to deteriorate. An update from the world of sports. World number 2, Daniil Medvedev, defeated Djokovic in straight sets 6-4, 6-4, 6-4 at the US Open to win his first ever Grand Slam. It was a massive defeat for Djokovic though, because he ended his bid there for a calendar Grand Slam and for his 21st major title. Now, had he won that 21st major title, he would be the greatest of all time. So he'd be the new GOAT. A calendar Grand Slam is when you win all four major championships in one calendar year. So that's the Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open. The US Open is what he missed there. He could be seen breaking down and also throwing his racket on the floor multiple times and crushing it during the match. Of course, when male players do it, it's just called enthusiasm. UK's Emma Raducanu defeated Canada's Leylah Fernandez in straight sets 6-4, 6-3 to win the US Open women's singles title. She's 18 years old and was ranked 150 in the world. She defeated Fernandez, who was ranked 73rd. She's also become the first British woman after Virginia Wade to win this title since 1968. Talking about the match, Raducanu said, "I knew I would have to dig deep. It was incredibly difficult, but I thought the level was really high and I had to play my best tennis." And of course, a piece of positive news before we leave you for the day. For the first time in the country, the state of Telangana has initiated Medicine from the Sky to deliver medicines and vaccines to remote areas using drones. Now, this is a project in collaboration with the World Economic Forum, the Niti Aayog, and HealthNet Global. Drones can cover apparently a distance of 6 kilometers in 5 minutes. So they reach the primary health centers of rural areas, and they can also transport blood for blood donation as well. The project has been taken up on a pilot basis with 16 green zones in Telangana, will be scaled up on a national level if it works out. So that brings us to the end of the news. Thank you so much for listening. Here's a quiz question. Could you tell us what, in tennis terms, a calendar slam is? The answer is in the news, but I'm sure if you were paying attention, you already know. I wish you a very good night. Thank you for watching.